Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. Dan Fetes alongside Mike Catalana here. Before we get started and recap the draft weekend and the Bills picks, like, comment, and subscribe per usual. If you missed any of our recaps of day one, the Dalton Kincaid pick, where I was wrong and admitted it, people seem to really enjoy that, as well as Mike's take on day two. Now this is the full recap for day three. Mike, Brandon Beane makes 3 picks. He also makes 3 trades. Your thoughts on how he did just today, Saturday, as we record this?
I think he did pretty well in terms of navigating what he had. I'm going to say overall, I appreciated his discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Dan, I don't think they're going to admit it, but I think this is a step back year in terms of personnel. I think they know there's certain things they got to take care of.
Yeah.
I think they know they weren't aggressive in free agency. I think they were not making deals in the draft. Limited. They made the one, to move up. Then they tried to move back to get a couple extra picks.
Yeah.
I give him credit for discipline for not dipping into next year. They're finally in a good position in 2024 in what is expected to be a very strong draft to have their picks, have an extra pick they got today, and then also have a supplemental pick. So it took discipline. Now, did that mean you missed out on some players? Yeah, I guess that's always. But in a big picture thing, this is a day sometimes guys get antsy. They make other moves. I give him credit for a guy who doesn't like to sit and wait. He was more patient today than I expected him to be.
Yeah, and where he joked that he lied about day one and trading up, I think he was pretty honest at the end of Friday where he said he wanted to move back. He wanted to try and acquire some picks, made 3 deals to move back. 2 of them got him picks for next year, correct? He got 2 6-round picks for next year.
Right.
One with the Rams and one with what was that the Washington one?
Yeah.
Yeah. I tweeted out
so
at
I think
some
they're
point
up to 10 picks for next year. I think they're up to 10.
With the
Supplemental
compensation
pick, and then the 3 that they added. So obviously that gives you maneuverability. I'm sitting there watching him in the day 3 of the draft, and he really didn't have a lot of maneuverability. He really didn't. He's put himself in that spot. I mean, let's be honest, he did. And they had limited picks. They used one in the first round to move up, and it's hard to get those back. And so honestly, when I say this, I really do believe they went into this offseason and this draft sort of biting their tongue a little bit and saying, we're going to make it work, and we're going to sign a lot of guys to 1-year contracts, and we're going to look look at 2024 is a year to replenish. This is a year to sort of hold the fort, and another to 2024 to replenish. But in terms of the guys they took today, position-wise, I like what they did. I like that they got size with a wide receiver. I like that they got offensive line. And I always like when you add a corner. So in terms of that, I'm happy. To be quite honest with you, Dan, there's only one pick that I sit there and go, I don't get it. And that's the 3rd rounder. Nothing against Dorian Williams.
That's like the second year in a row. The 3rd round pick has kind of confused us because it was Terrell Bernard last year that we said, huh? Like, what?
And then we watched this season and we said, huh? What? Like, he didn't appear. Now, again, Tremaine Edmonds was playing a ton of snaps, but, even when Edmonds was out, it was Tyrell Dodson who filled in for him. And I get it. It's a veteran and you got a 3rd round rookie, but we'll see. We'll see how this maps out. I don't mean to start with the negative, but I will say that in terms of the week, he's the one. Now, I'll say this. Maybe they got other plans. Some people are saying, maybe he plays some form of a safety or a big nickel or whatever it is that he can play. I don't know.
That's what's funny is that's what we thought with Bernard. We thought, man, his size is more Milano and maybe he can cover and he plays this. Whatever. We'll still wait and see. And it's funny as I remember we talked, Mike, on the newscast on Thursdays, everybody preps for the draft. And we did joke that nobody knows anything, like for as much as we are prepared. So the one thing that I did like is with being acquiring extra 6-round picks for next year. My thought wasn't, oh, he's going to get value in the 6th round. It's no, now he has draft capital to move up next year in the 3rd, 4th, 2nd rounds that he likes to move and package those picks. So for a long time, we've said, oh, he's got capital to move up. And I think it was last year that he moved up twice in the 5th round. He moved up and got extra picks and moved up for guys he liked in the 4th and 5th round.
Yeah.
I can see him doing that in the future as we look 365 days ahead.
Yeah.
As for the picks that they made, Mike, went into this draft going, not that they need playmakers, they need anybody that can help Josh Allen. Out of the 6 picks, they made 6 picks, right? 4?
6, yeah, 6 picks.
Yeah, 3 going at 3. And 4 of them were on the offense, 2 were pass catchers, 2 were offensive linemen. I'm happy with that. I really am. So I'm all for 2 pass catchers. We'll wait and see. I feel like taking wide receivers in the 5th and 6th round and beyond, it's a crapshoot. You hope to hit on 1 or 2.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to sit here and say that Justin Shorter is going to be, I can see him as the 5th wide receiver on this team. I'm not going to go there yet.
Yeah. Well, they've gone to the, 4th and 5th rounds in the drafts for receivers, when they got Gabe Davis, and then you turn around, you get Khalil Shakir. Like they've done that before. I went dad joke and said they got taller with Shorter.
Much taller.
But he's 6'4". And, I asked him today about, you read his bio and you read his draft thing, and it says doesn't get off the line of scrimmage, takes him a while to get going. Actually, that doesn't bother me as much. In terms of this offense, the way Josh can buy time a little bit, but he's big and has size and he has speed, and he's just I just get the feeling he's not quick. He doesn't appear to be short steps and quick motions.
Correct.
But
long strider.
Strider. Yeah. But they may have an opening on the outside in a year, with Gabe. You don't know what's going to end up happening, and guys will get an opportunity. But I did not mind that move at all. They like Florida. This is 3 high draft picks, or 3 draft picks in the last 2 years.
Do you know what was interesting to me, Mike? Is I said going into this draft, I said, we'll see what they think. Their actions will speak louder than their words that they have been talking in the pre-draft thing. They picked both guys. I think I saw somebody had the stat that Kincaid and Shorter dropped combined 3 passes in their last 2 years. They were extremely sure-handed. Yeah. And I just thought that was, again, not that you're going to pick some guy that has 10 drops and go, well, he's got great ball security. But I just thought it was interesting of making sure they have a couple of guys, at least at the collegiate level, that were sure-handed. So I'm all for the pass catchers. Again, we talked about Dalton Kincaid, but I'm fine with taking a shot on the taller wide receiver. He was a 5-star recruit out of high school, had some injuries, motivated, seeming like guy, like he fit the McDermott process and the mold of a locker room guy. So I was pleasantly surprised. And again, this is the fun time of the year where every the fan base gets to look at the highlights of the player and go, man, this guy, I think we got a steal here.
Yeah. I've gotten that on Dorian Williams, and the way they speak of him, honestly, and people can get mad at me all they want. I don't say the player is a poor player, and I don't think that means the player doesn't have a chance. But the way they speak about him is the way you would speak at about a 5th or a 6th or a 7th round or an undrafted guy. He's going to train at both linebacker positions. He's considered more of like a special team or try to earn his way for spots. And again, that's fine. Honestly, those to me seem more luxury picks. I think when I say that, you're picking, the way I look at the draft is 1st round, 2nd round, you are drafting for a guy that certainly you believe can be an immediate starter. And then 3rd and 4th round to me is guys that have ability and you believe they can step into that role at some point. Maybe it takes a little longer. When you get past that point, I don't mind in the 5th and 6th round where you draft a guy that you believe can be a backup and a good solid backup. Maybe he stuns you. Maybe he's a Milano that is way better than you expected. And then in the 7th round, you take some flyers on a guy that is super talented, had injuries or whatever it happens to be.
Raw.
But that's kind of the way I look at it. And the only reason I say is about Dorian Williams, again, when I hear the descriptions and I hear what Bean says, he feels more like a 5th-round pick to me in terms of where they are and what they need.
Yeah.
If they would have say they kept Tremaine and you drafted a guy like Williams, okay. Like, I get it. Like, you've signed him.
Yeah.
You're looking for backup teams guy, maybe can play in some other spots. That was the only reason I had with it. God, I got people fighting back. Like, I'm ripping them. Look, we don't know. He could end up being all pro for all we do know, but that would be a stunner based
Yeah.
on what we've seen and read about what he's been leading into the NFL.
Outside of Dorian,
Yeah.
what was the biggest surprise for you this draft out of the Bills?
Well, I'll start with the top in terms of taking a tight end.
Okay.
Now, again, we've had this discussion about what he can bring to the offense.
Correct.
But I don't think anybody would have said number one need on the team is tight end.
Yeah, agreed.
So I think you have to buy in, and that's why if you watch the video that I put on there, Bean is saying, "Do you trust me?" Because he's saying, "No,
Video.
this guy, thanks. This guy is a different type of matchup problem." Honestly, I like the idea of it a lot. I like his size. I love the way the guy runs because we finally get Zach Ertz on the Bills. He's just the younger version of him. He runs just like Zach Ertz, catches the ball like him. He's Zach Ertz 2.0 or whatever.
And the Bills are going to trade for Ertz, right? We're still waiting for that trade to happen.
Still could happen, but he's that guy. So he's a little different than your standard, I think, tight end. He doesn't play like Dawson Knox.
Correct.
I don't think there's a lot of similarities in the way they play. So but the surprise was, wow. But now when you look at it, you go, they wanted a pass catcher. They got size, which is good. He can get down the field. I wouldn't say he's a burner, but he's also 6'4" and can just, at least you watch the tape and you're saying, man, this guy gets himself open. He'll push his way through coverage. He bounces off of tackles. Like, he has a lot of those skills that you want in any pass catcher. So just the idea that they took a quote tight end with the first pick. Torrance to me was I'm not going to say a no-brainer. None of these picks are no-brainers unless you're, number one overall, but I'd say he's a no-brainer. They needed interior offensive line. Hopefully he's that guy.
Yeah. I would have liked him in the first round.
Yeah. I mean, you would have been able to say, okay, he's the kind of guy we're going to take. You'll read that he didn't give up a sack. Some of those stats, that's great. Better than saying he gave up 10. I mean, he had Richardson as his quarterback, and that guy is a beast. But, he's not a guy that gave up a lot of pressures. He transferred from Louisiana and moved up to the SEC. So he was against that competition. He's strong against big-bodied, strong defensive linemen is what they were talking about. And against the Jets, you're going to see that certainly. So yeah, a lot of that part that I like. How about you? What was the surprise you saw there?
The fact that Bean didn't pick a defensive tackle.
Yeah.
I thought for sure that Bean was actually more honest, and he's the one that went out of his way at his pre-draft presser to say, are you forced? Are you targeting any position? And Bean was the one that went out of his way. The question was kind of offense, and Bean was the one that went, we're probably going to need a defensive tackle. We only have none on the roster under contract after this year. So I thought it was a lock that they would take a defensive tackle. Them not taking one kind of surprised me. I'm with you, Mike. I also thought the corner position, I told people, I wouldn't be surprised. I thought the corner was in play days 1 and 2. You always need corners, and he's drafted a lot of them. So I thought, again, you're still trying to figure out where Christian Benford falls in. I think he can play a lot of positions. That's a good thing. But after Kyer and Trey, Dane's under a 1-year contract. I thought they would replenish the position a little bit more. They ended up doing it in the 7th round. We'll wait and see. But I guess I thought that, and no edge rusher. I thought that was just kind of play the hits. So the fact that he went with 2 pass catchers, 2 offensive linemen, I liked. It just surprised me there was no defensive tackle, no edge rusher, which has been the hits of Brandon Beane so far this year.
It's how you get yourself in trouble, though. Again, they'll be desperate for D tackle next year, and that's going to be a thing. And maybe that gives Ed Oliver some leverage in terms of what they do. Truth is, depending on how he plays, right?
Yeah, and wrapping up, letter grade. This is always the dumbest thing that everybody will do. We will all give grades. We have no idea. They haven't even put on a helmet yet. But for the value at which you project them to be at middle of the road, nobody's being a bust, but where do you think that this draft was and makes sense to you letter-wise?
Okay, I'm going to give him a little bit of a pass for the first round and moving up. I know people hated that, but if this guy is who they think he is, then it's going to end up being a big move. I give him a lot of credit for the patience later. I give him credit for adding picks. I'm already excited about 2024 because that's a replenished draft. So in total, I will give him a B.
I agree. I was going to say B- because of the trading up, but I'll get crucified for that in the comments of negative Dan and Dan the downer. So I will agree. I'll go B. And again, looking big picture, if we look back and we say, man, that was really smart of Bean to move back twice to gain picks so that he can move up next year and get somebody in the third round that, we sit there and go, man, what is steal in the third round? We'll look back on this draft and say, man, that was really smart of Bean.
Yeah. I would say this. I understand all the picks, except honestly for the Dorian Williams pick. So we know that he will end up being a starter, probably all pro, and he will be the guy that comes out of this draft as the best player they took.
Plenty more videos will be up here on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. This is the instant reaction hot takes. And then sometimes we go back and admit we were wrong and we get some extra sleep. There's like I said, the Dalton Kincaid videos are up there. There's round 2 recaps. This is kind of the all-encompassing one, but I really do suggest you go back and watch some of the other videos that we have put out throughout this weekend. We'll have more videos coming up. It'll just be Mike and I, Jenna getting a much needed vacation for the week.
Yeah.
So
we
you'll
shipped
just
her out of town.
Ugly mugs, for the next week
That's
or
it.
so. Appreciate it, Mike. Let's get some rest. I did see somebody comment in when I said I made a mistake, and I had said it was a long day. It was like 8 hours, and the guy goes, "Boy, wait, what a rough day, 8 hours." And I was like, "Yeah, that one came across wrong." But it has been a long week covering along. So we appreciate you following again. Like, comment, and subscribe. Buffalo Plus store for merch if you want any along the way as well. But for Mike Catalana, I'm Dan Fetes. Thanks for following along the entire draft weekend. Plenty more coverage. We'll catch you next time here on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel.